I would like to welcome you in Your Home Authority with Bryant Heating and Air on KFOR 1240 and KFOR1240.com. Danny and Reggie in studio as they are every Saturday during this time to take your phone calls, 402-489-1240. Feeling comfortable in your home? If not, well, that's why we're here. Want to make sure your castle remains your castle. We take for granted sometimes those little devices that keep our comfort level where they are. And who knows, maybe you're looking for ways to increase that comfort level. We'll give you some ideas about how you can do that during the show as well. Danny, Reggie, welcome in.
Morning, Chris.
How's the week?
Perfect. Yours?
You know, busy. Busy.
Buzz.
Yeah, just go. And I know that you guys are going to be getting pretty darn busy because today is the first day that people from Omaha can call Bryant and go, hey, I need some help.
That's exactly right. And we've actually even gotten a couple calls this morning, and we're running calls in Omaha today.
So there you go. So if you are in need of heating and cooling work, maybe you need that furnace to be checked at least twice a year. That's kind of important stuff. We are going to hit on preventative maintenance every Saturday. You'll hear that a lot, but it's very important stuff. Folks in Omaha now can enjoy the services that Bryant has been offering Lincoln for 60-plus years now.
Yep. It's a long time. We've been taking care of people here in Lincoln, and it's a good note to be moving to Omaha, too.
Well, and here we want to help people out as well through the show, 489-1240. And another way that you help people out and give them information is through some of the home shows. And we're into a brand new year, which means we are going to see home shows left and right on weekends, giving people some great ideas of how to improve their homes. And I know there's a home show coming up. I believe it's next weekend.
That's correct. It's the Home Builder Show, and we're going to be out there, and we're going to have our geothermal display set up, and along with some other displays. And now's a great time to stop on out if you want to learn about geothermal. Maybe you're thinking even building a new home. What should you consider? You know, it's a great time to talk about zoning. Maybe we're going to have a little bit of information on mini splits, plumbing, electrical. You name it, we're going to have it. And we actually even may have a special guest in our booth on Saturday or Sunday or both. I think Greg Shark's going to stop by for a little while and greet and talk to the crowd. And what an opportune time to talk a little Husker recruiting.
Yeah, no kidding. You got signing day coming up here on Wednesday, where we're going to bring in some of the new faces in the future of the program, and heard some good things. So it'll be kind of a great time to pick his brain as well. And the nice thing is, because I remember one of the number of the shows that I stopped out just to kind of see what's going on, and I stopped by the Bryant booth, and sometimes you wonder who these companies send out. Oh, I'm sure it's going to be just someone that drew the short straw, and they get to hang out there. But Danny, I've seen you there. Reggie, I've seen you there. I've seen service managers there. You send out the people who are the ones that are, they know their stuff.
Yeah, that's right. We send the people. If you've got questions, we send the people that can answer them. We always kind of talk about, we kind of always walk around, or either other home shows, and it's kind of funny you bring that up because you can always tell because they're the ones always sitting on the chair as far back as they can.
Like, I don't want to be in front of people.
Oh God, is my shift about over?
But not you guys. I mean, you guys are like up front, and you're putting your hands out, shaking people's hands, asking questions. Hey, have you heard about this? Are you interested? Be happy to help you out. And it's one of those things where you're not afraid to assist people when they need it.
That's absolutely right. We love to answer the questions, and may even not be something in our booth. Maybe we want to know a little bit about us or something we don't have in our booth. We're happy to answer those questions. We usually have 4 or 5 people in our booth, kind of one from, as they say, each trade, so that they can, somebody for electrical, somebody for plumbing or HVAC, or, maybe that's just a service question. We try to have someone there to answer all the questions.
Well, you brought up one interesting topic that we want to talk about today, and it's something that we've hit on in the past a couple of different times, but it is what I have garnered the wave of the future when it comes to heating and cooling your home because of the carbon footprint of your home because of this equipment and the efficiency of the equipment. And we're talking about geothermal, and you're basically kind of walking hand in hand with Mother Nature almost, making sure your home is comfortable. So, Reggie, explain to people how geothermal works.
Well, what we're doing, Chris, is we're actually trying to Mother Earth. The ground temperature down in the ground stays 53 degrees year round. That never really ever changes. The whole key thing of it is with our geothermal, we're putting loops down into the ground and on a closed loop system, and we're trying to absorb that heat and bring it back in and then transfer it through our refrigeration system inside that geothermal system and then bring it into the home. It's almost like having free heat down there. Yes, you have a little bit of electricity that you got to use to pump for the wells, but I tell you what, it's very economical to operate that way. You know, you could, we've had things where you could save up to 300% on your heating and cooling costs.
That's crazy.
You know, you will see a substantial savings, especially where propane's located at right now. It's very expensive right now, and it's a win-win for homeowners.
Well, and let's talk about the payback period, because obviously there's a cost to have it installed, and you're talking about the monthly cost of utilities there being so low. Usually, let's say compare it to a furnace, and then also we'll throw in heat pump as well, because a heat pump is another great way to help heat and cool your home. What does a payback period look like versus those two other units if you install Geo?
Well, if you take into the federal tax credit that you have that you can get back from the federal government, that goes on until 2016. And right now with LES's rebate program, they've got $4 million that they've come back with the rebate program. They've cut it down a little bit to try to stretch it a little bit further, but it's still a whale of a deal for homeowners to utilize. And by them giving this rebate back, it actually helps everybody else trying to hold down their cost of electricity at the same time, because they're balancing out their loads during the winter and summertime. But you know, your payback on that Geo, and I didn't mean to get away from that, but the payback, you know, you could be anywhere from 7, 8 to maybe 10 years. It depends a lot on your lifestyle, what you're utilizing, what temperatures you like to keep it inside your house. Some of that will come into play, but your payback is pretty quick. Well,
and you mentioned a really great point, because here we're getting into the second month of the year now today. Happy February, by the way, everybody.
Yep.
But LES has done this for a number of years now. They've had these special rebates for helping people to upgrade their homes to make them more efficient, so that for them it's great, because then you're using less energy. So it keeps their systems working at a nominal level without having this major draw. And they have brought them back. LES has brought those rebates back.
And, you know, I don't know how long this will last, but I know what LES is trying to do right now. They're trying to hold down their peak load that they have. And if they can keep from building another peak load power plant, those cost millions of dollars to try to build these. And you know, if we can stretch this out, I think I heard something from LES the last time when I went to their meeting, when they were telling us about this $4 million, that they're looking at least till about 2012, 2013 before they may have to think about building another peaking plant like they've done. That's a win-win. A lot of that is because of this rebate program. Most people don't know that, but LES with their rates, they're in the top 5 in the nation as far as the cost of electricity.
Yeah.
We're pretty spoiled. We don't know what some electricity costs. You go back east, you might be in that 12, 13, 14 cents a kilowatt, which is astronomically pretty high. That's the reason they're trying to use oil back there, because oil, for whatever reason, is cheaper. They don't have the trucking costs that we do have here. But it's a lot cheaper here than what it is there.
Well, and Danny, you can speak on this, because you've seen this too, where those rebates, they don't make it till the end of the year. They usually run out. I think last year they ran out in June or July. So if people have been talking about increasing the efficiency of their home with new systems, this is the time of year you really want to call up Bryant. You want to get that information, and you want to get the ball rolling, because the rebate money doesn't last until December 31st. It lasts until the money's gone.
That's absolutely correct. It ran out very quickly last year, and people didn't quite expect that. The other part of what LES is trying to do is each year they're upping the requirements for the money. So, not necessarily my words, but some people will say that maybe the program isn't as good this year as it is last year. Well, it's probably the same program, but the requirements have raised. So maybe what you've got a rebate for in the past doesn't qualify for a rebate this year. and probably even when we talk about geothermal, I know most people probably think in their mind that, geez, I've got to have 10 acres. I couldn't do this at my house, or you've got to live on a farm, or you got to be in the rural community to take advantage of geothermal. And that's just not the case. It's more prevalent maybe in the rural areas.
Sure.
But that's very quickly changing. We've done a number of geothermal systems just right here in the city of Lincoln. They've with horizontal boring and those type of things. A house that you didn't think that you could ever put geo in, now you can put geo in it. Technology is advancing so there, and horizontal boring is probably responsible for that. I know you've done a number of those applications in town, so geothermal is just not for rural communities or someone that lives on an acreage.
That is very correct, Danny. And it's more people are, everybody thinks, well, if I got to put the wells down in the ground, they worry about maybe having to tear up your yard for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I got to be honest with you, it's very short lived, because once you soak everything down, it don't take very long, and your grass is growing right back, and within a month or two, it's gone.
It's resilient.
You don't even know it even happened.
Grass is resilient stuff, I tell you.
Yeah. Yep. People in Lincoln probably drive by houses every day that have geothermal systems, and you're not even going to know it. Everybody kind of thinks you're going to have these wells and this unsightly equipment, the unsightly wells in your yard and those type of things, and they're completely hidden.
Yes.
And with geothermal, since we have LES that has the rebates, which would help out, and then the federal government, as you said, has a rebate program to help as well. You can double dip there.
Yes, and the federal government's a 30% tax credit. The federal government's getting more involved with it. I don't know. At first, they were including everything. What I'd say on that 30% is check with your tax person to make sure what you can take and what you can't take, so you don't end up getting audited or anything like that. I know the form that you fill out is a very simple form, and it's a one-page form. I just don't know what everybody's tax liabilities and everything else they have.
A little different for everybody.
Taxman is the best person to talk to and find out for sure what we can do there. We'll give you all of the money in the sheets that proves what we're on the EER rating on geothermal. You'll have all that information, so when you go sit down with your tax person, you can fill everything out without any issues.
402-489-1240. That is our number if you have a question for the guys from Bryant Heating and Air. And let's go to the phones. Jessica is joining us today. We appreciate the phone call, Jessica. What's your question?
Well, I don't have a question. My family was one of the families that got nominated for a free furnace, and we got one.
Wonderful.
And I was calling in. I wanted to make sure I told Bryant thank you. And it's been great. It's been a life-changing experience for us. Even within the last week, things have completely turned around for us just coming home to a warm house.
Well, it's an honor for us, Jessica, to be able to serve you and try to help you guys out. It's very appreciative to be a part of that from my personal part. And I know everybody out there, Brian, it's a good feeling knowing we can help somebody out like that.
Yeah, it was great. I don't know. I mean, thank you so much. I would never know how to repay anybody, even, and nobody's even ever asked for anything. I mean, they all just seem so grateful just to help. It was we never felt like we owed anything. It was nothing. It was just, we want to help your family, and they did.
Well, that's definitely part of our program, and that's why we do it. And you guys were great, and you're very deserving, and I'm glad we could give you a helping hand. And I'm sure someday you'll pay that back to someone else.
I sure hope I can.
Well,
more than once.
Jessica, we appreciate the phone call, and we're so glad that you, not just you, but you and the family now can at least come home to a home that's comfortable, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. You can actually relax a little bit.
Yeah, it's great, and congratulations to the other families who got it too. And they sure helped out a lot of people. But yeah, it's great. It's nice and warm. My husband can finally not have to do the dishes because I wouldn't go in the kitchen because it was too cold.
So he's
Now,
loving it.
I can do, yeah, I know. He just kind of sat on the couch and was like, "This is nice." What we're doing, huh?
I'll be darned.
Well, it's the little things in life, you know?
Right?
Well, Jessica, thank you so much for the phone call. We really do appreciate it. And we're so glad that that folks at Bryant could help you and your family out, and you can now you can enjoy the comfort of your home just a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks so much to everybody that nominated and just helped us out. Bryant, the radio stations, just everybody.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank
And
you.
you have a great weekend. Stay warm
you.
and cozy.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I will. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again, Jessica. Wow, I mean, that's what it's about right there.
Yeah,
I'm a little teary-eyed, you know, honestly.
I hear you. These are tough, and you know I can probably add one other little comment to this. This is a house that another house that didn't necessarily have any duct work. We had to put some duct work in it. We put a new furnace in, and actually the employees at Bryant started passing around an envelope and took up a collection and actually put some money towards their account to help them out with their bills.
Wow. Very cool indeed. Well, it's something special when you have a company like Bryant that goes above and beyond to help people out that need it. Very cool stuff. We're going to take a break in our show. When we come back, we'll answer more of your questions if you have them, 402-489-1240, and we'll continue to talk about the amazing way to heat your home and cool your home through geothermal. That's coming up next here on KFOR 1240. Welcome back to the program. Your Home Authority with Bryant Heating and Air on KFOR 1240. 402-489-1240 is the number if you have a question for the gentleman from Bryant. Danny and Reggie are in. We're talking about geothermal today, and we're giving you the lowdown on how amazing this technology is to keep your home warm in the winter, cool in the summer, all by using Mother Earth and utilizing the power that the Earth has to keep us cool. And the great thing is it's very efficient. It keeps the carbon footprint very low, so you're not using as much energy. One question, though, that people may have is, do you still need a furnace for a geothermal unit?
Well, it depends on your application that you have. If we just have the standing geothermal system, no, that one box sets downstairs. It has a backup heating element that's on the inside if you got down to lower temperatures outside to try if it needs any makeup. Most of the time, your geothermal is going to run down to probably 0 plus or minus 5 degrees. You know, and give and take a little bit in there, but it's going to be very close. But it should take care of most of all the heating. Now, if you decide that you wanted gas heat, which depends on where you're located at, then we'd have a geo split system. And yes, then you could use a gas-fired furnace with that. The only thing is sometimes we can't always get the efficiencies out of it unless you have an ECM blower motor on your furnace, on your old furnace that you have in the house, because it just makes that geothermal much warmer. The air temperature coming out, it'll enhance the comfort inside your house tremendously. But you can't do that.
So with the geothermal unit, that the part that's in the house that has the blower motor, it's got everything that your typical that we think of with the furnace would have it's able to push things through.
You don't see any condensing unit on the outside. There's nothing that sets outside. It's all sets down inside your basement. On our split systems, we can set that geothermal system on that split. We can actually bring it in and almost set it if there's room around your furnace, but we could set it right by your furnace, then take the refrigerant lines and tie it into the evaporator coil. So you can retrofit if you wanted to do something like that.
Now, in the last segment, we had made the comment that a lot of people think geothermal is only utilized if you have large acreage, you have a lot of room, you have a pond, you can't live in the residential neighborhoods to have geothermal, and that's all false. You can get it if you have a large acreage and everything else, but you can also get it if you live in one of the neighborhoods here in town. And Danny had mentioned a loop, a horizontal loop, and that's what makes it possible. So there's obviously different applications for geothermal. Let's talk about horizontal. What is horizontal loop? What are we talking about when you say that?
When you go horizontal boring, what you can actually do, they could come in and set up about in the front side of your house. They'll probably dig a 4 foot by 4 foot hole, and he'll actually take and bore down underneath your house in the ground and then come back up out into the backyard. And he'll feed those lines back in through there. tie his loops together, and then we bring a header pipe back into the house by doing the same concept. He'll dig down underneath your house. We'll have an area down underneath there. We'll open up the concrete so we can bring those lines back up in, and then tie them in with the geothermal heat pump system inside there. So you don't necessarily have to have that big drilling rig that we got to take into the backyard. You can actually do it from the front yard if we have to. Just depends on the concept that we're trying to get to hook up there, and the access that we have. I know the well driller we utilize, he has a smaller truck, so it's not the big well drilling truck that they come in when they're digging down to maybe get water. It's a smaller rig, and it's very feasible to utilize because it can get into places the bigger rigs can't.
So then this basically has the well, or not the well, but the loop go under the house? Or?
Yes. You can take it and come from the front yard, go down underneath the house, underneath your water lines or whatever's there, come back up in the back part of the yard, and then pull your loops back in through there.
And, of course, they take care of calling Digger's Hotline and all that.
Yeah, yes, they do. That's state law. You have to call in advance, and they come out and mark everything. Otherwise, they don't drill.
Just in case you're worried about that.
Yep.
We'll compare horizontal loop. Now, compare that to closed loop. Explain the closed loop scenario.
Well, our closed loop, your horizontal is a closed loop system, too.
Okay.
The only thing is I'm a real big fan of the vertical loops because when I go vertically down into the ground, you're going to get into a little bit of water down there. And when that water gets around your loop system, it will help with the absorption or rejection of heat that's coming off of that loop field. And, the more you can enhance that, the better it is. If you take your horizontal field, you have to have about approximately twice as much lineal feet of pipe as what you do with a horizontal or with a vertical wells. So it takes more to get these loops out there. But if you ever have a dry year, that's always it's not that it can't be done. You go down 8 feet down the ground, you put your first loop down in there, you take it out, go back. Then your second loop that you're at, you're going to be approximately around 5 feet down into the ground, 4 to 5 feet.
So they're not going very deep.
No. The problem is I don't always get into a water table when you do that. In fact, you'll never get into the water table if you're down 8 feet down underneath the ground. Not unless your water table is that high. If it is, then you got a problem in your basement.
Yeah, you're not happy with
There's
your
water
basement.
going to be in your basement for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And then there's another style of setup called pump and dump.
Yes. And what that is and a lot of people, they like this concept because they don't have to pay for the wells to put them in the ground. And they're a nice system. The problem is the ones that I've seen that actually people decide, I don't want this, I'm not dealing with this anymore, is people that do have pump and dump. And the reason for that is if there's little fine granular sand that gets into your water, and even though they have a filtering system on it, that fine granular sand sometimes will get by those filters for whatever reason.
Nothing's
100%. I've seen it get by. We have what they call little taco valves that control the amount of water when it goes through. What it does is when the taco valve starts to shut, the sand sits underneath that seat. Well, it'll start first as a little drip, and you may not know, and this may happen down the road a ways. But once that thing cuts a slot in that seat and it can't seal the water off, the water runs all the time. The people that become dissatisfied with that is when it starts to become really bad, because this year it'll happen and they spend money to repair that, and then they go down the road and then they have it happen again in 2 years or sometimes 3, depending on the water. Those are the people that I finally find out they get disgusted with it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm done. And that's a sad thing because Geo is the best system out there on the market today.
When looking at like horizontal versus vertical, are those the two best choices for residential?
Well, let me talk a little bit about horizontal.
Okay.
I talked a little bit earlier why people think that you use acreages and maybe rural communities is you're probably talking about the horizontal, because you do need quite a bit of space to run those loops out there, because you're only going 5 foot down and you're going out over a big area. And it's kind of what Reggie talked about earlier is people like those, but the problem is when you get a drought, you start getting cracks in the ground.
Yeah.
And you get these big cracks, and that hot air starts going down. So you lose that efficiency with those horizontal loops. And it's not uncommon for people that have horizontal loops during dry periods. They'll actually put sprinklers on top of the ground to try to get that ground to seal back. And kind of what Reggie's talking about is getting some water on those pipes so you can get that efficiency. Well, you know as well as I do that if we've got to put sprinklers on top of the ground and we've got to worry about cracks, that you're probably not getting the efficiency that you thought you were going to get at the end of the day.
Sure.
So that's really why Reggie kind of recommends the vertical loop, because you don't have that issue of that efficiency, because you're so far down in the ground. You're probably 90, 100 foot.
We're 200 feet down in the ground.
Holy cow!
We go 200 feet down the ground.
So you're getting a constant, and you're getting that efficiency, and that's never going to change whether it's zero outside or it's 100 degrees, and we might be in a period of drought, and you don't have to worry about those cracks. So that's kind of where people think that you can't use geothermal in town, is just because when geothermal first started out, everybody was doing the horizontal loops. And and then people were kind of maybe getting a little disappointed because they weren't getting the efficiency.
Most of them, when they first came out, Geo came out, everybody wanted to do that pump and dump because they didn't want to spend the extra. But I guarantee you, with this 30% tax credit,
It's worth it.
It's worth putting that loop field in, because that's a system that, I got to be honest with you, it'll be there 30 to 35 years down the road if you take care of it and have it serviced on a regular basis. That system's going to be around. I always tell homeowners, I'd rather you see me on the street, and you'd be surprised how many customers you see in the store, and they'll bring up, they say, "Oh, hi, Reg, how are you doing?" And you have to take back and look, because there's a lot of people you see during a day's time.
A lot of people, yeah.
And I'd rather them be telling me the good things than the bad things. I don't want to hear any bad things, because that's not a good thing for me.
We don't hear a lot of bad from Bryant, that's for sure. We're going to take another break in the show. When we come back, we'll wrap up our conversation about geothermal. If you have a question, give us a call, 402-489-1240. We're here to help, and then we'll switch gears a little bit. Coming up next on Your Home Authority with Bryant Heating and Air on KFOR 1240. And we appreciate you joining us today for Your Home Authority with Bryant Heating and Air on KFOR 1240 and KFOR1240.com. And we're going to go to the phones real quick before we wrap up our conversation about geothermal. And we have another Warm Winter Wish recipient. Angie is joining us. Angie, well, first off, we appreciate you taking the time to call into the show. How's the house feel?
It feels warm, and thank you for having me call in.
So tell us a little bit about what it was like to have Bryant come in and the work they did, and what are some of the things you've noticed first and foremost, besides the fact that it's more comfortable in your home?
I'm blown away. I am completely blown away. I remember even the phone call. I'm still in shock. They were great. It was awesome when they came in. I just came home and I felt like I just left them there, and they got it done really quick, and I love it. I love the furnace. It's warm, and it's great.
I'm glad we could be a service for you, Angie. It's neat to be a part of that system, trying to help you out and help your family out at the same time. It's an honor to do that.
Well, it was an honor to be chosen, and just to meet you guys. You guys were all just so sweet and so kind, and I thank you so much.
You're definitely a deserving recipient, and I was actually in the studio to the day that we let you know, and your story is pretty amazing. You're such a positive person, and you have such great faith. It's pretty heartwarming.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. I really appreciate that. That a lot of times, you have moments where you want to get down, and then you hear, "Hey, you're doing a good job," and you're positive. It's like, okay, I am. So thank you. I am. I guess I am.
You are, and like I say, you are very deserving, and sounds like hopefully some things work out, and you're definitely on the right track, and the man upstairs will take care of you.
Well, thank you. I think we're definitely blessed, though. Through this, I have an amazing amount of friends and family that help support us, and this was amazing. It certainly was a huge help. There, Steve was right. I don't think I could financially take that hit any more than we already have for it to go down again, for that furnace to keep on going, and it's a huge burden off my mind, a lot. And just to know that the air's clean now, and we're not using that wood burning stove, and we don't have to worry about. I mean, it's a great thing. Don't get me wrong, but just with Travis's condition, it's definitely a huge load off my mind right now.
No, we definitely understand, and the other part of it is you've got a brand new system with a warranty that's going to last a number of years,
and from a great company.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Well, Angie, we really appreciate you taking the time to call. Tell us, besides the whole, it's warm in the house and it's comfortable, like you said with Travis, it's made things so much, made things a little bit easier when it comes to just the health of the family.
It really has. We have a kiddo with asthma, and he's really struggled this year with that wood burning stove because it gets kind of smoky in there, and just all of that. It's been great.
But great stories. Great stories.
Yes.
Angie, thank you very much.
Well,
Do appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Well, enjoy the comfort that your home brings now with this winter, because, boy, I tell you, it has not been fun, I'm sure, and we're glad that a company like Bryant can come in and at least take a little bit of that burden off of your shoulders so you can focus on more important things.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
All right, bye-bye. Boy, I tell you, it's great to hear the way that a company like Bryant can impact people's lives, and it brings it home. I mean, like you even said, Danny, there are so many families out there that were deserving, and it can be very, very painful and hard to select a handful out of hundreds, but in the end, that it's still making a difference.
That's exactly right. We picked three extremely deserving people. I know I've made that comment before. We probably realistically could have done 8 or 9 this year. It was just an impossible task to pick the 3 that we did. I mean, we literally went back and forth right to the last minute, and I guess we just picked 3 great deserving people, and I guess the great thing about this is I know that they got a little bit of a helping hand, and these are probably 3 people that will help somebody down the road.
Yeah, pay it forward. Absolutely. 402-489-1240 is our number. We're going to take our next break in the show here. When we come back, we'll wrap up our conversation about geothermal. We'll talk a little bit about mini splits to wrap up the show as well. Stay close. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back to the program, Your Home Authority with Bryant Heating and Air on KFOR. Danny and Reggie from Bryant are in, and we're here to answer your questions at 489-1240. We're talking a little about geothermal. About when we left the conversation about geothermal, we were talking about some of the different loops that are accessible that you can utilize for geothermal. It is something you can use as a resident in Lincoln. You don't have to live on an acreage, but some people who do live on acreages, they utilize if they have a pond or a lake. And talk about those systems for those that might be living in one of the communities outside of town or just outside, and they have the ability to use a lake or a pond, because you're talking about the water in the ground and how that helps. I'm guessing that would be beneficial too.
A lake would probably be better. A pond, you got to make sure that you have enough water in that pond.
Don't let it dry out.
Oh boy, because you're taxing it. The slinky, either you put a slinky in or you put the stainless steel plates that we can put in the water itself. You need to have at least 8 to 10 feet of water inside that is going to be very, very consistent. Because by putting those plates in there, it does warm up the water, and it will enhance the moisture coming off of that lake, and the water will disappear. And if you don't have enough rain coming back in and try to fill that pond back up, it will create a problem for you.
Well, in the last couple of years, we've been seeing that here in Nebraska.
Yeah, and there were some of those loops that were actually, with the slinky, was actually in the water. You could actually see them sticking out of the water, which they weren't completely covered up with water itself. And you need to keep that thing down. 4 feet, you got to get below that frost line. If you can ever get below that frost line, that's where the loops need to stay at.
And it's dangerous if those loops do freeze.
Yeah, they are. They do have polyglycol in them to try to keep some of the freezing. And there's only about a 20% glycol solution in that. The whole thing of it is, it's not that it won't freeze, because it could still freeze if it got cold enough, especially if it's up above and it's not to where you can go down below zero on your freezing like you do on your car. in the water in your car. Because when you add antifreeze to that, you got to at least set that below 0 to try to make everything, keep it from freezing. At least 20 below or something like that.
Well, and speaking of water, a lot of people probably would like to know if a geosystem can help keep your home warm and cold during the months. What about domestic hot water? Does it work as a water heater?
Well, it doesn't do all the heating of the hot water. It'll do between 30 and 40% of heating your hot water. What we usually do is we take a preheat tank and put it in front of your hot water heater that you do have, and the desuperheater on the geothermal system will actually preheat that water before it ever goes in to your hot water heater. And what we're doing with that is we're trying to hold off the amount of time, whether you have electric or even a gas hot water heater, that it doesn't have to run as long or as often, and you always have hot water all the time, and try to use that desuperheater because it's very cheap when you're using that heat out of the ground to try to heat it.
Well, I was going to say, even a little bit to help kind of offset the cost of the gas or the electricity to run your water heater is beneficial.
I know homeowners out on an acreage, especially if they got propane, that's a win-win situation for them, because your electric, you only get 1-to-1 ratio out of that, and it costs you more to heat hot water with electric hot water heater. But if you put that desuperheater in there, then it jumps up tremendously to hook up to your preheat tank inside the unit.
And before we get into mini splits, with Geothermal, the systems from Bryant, they fall under the test drive program.
Yeah, our Geothermal from Bryant does fall underneath that 24-month test drive.
And it's important to note that Bryant is so confident about their equipment that you get 24 months of guarantee out of it.
Yes,
that's absolutely correct. It's kind of funny you bring that up. Last week we got a call from another company in town wanting to know how why do we offer this this guarantee? Well, we offer it, but really what we've done is we've offered this for 60 years. Mm-hmm. The whole time we've been in business, we've just never publicized it. And it's like, you get advertising people in and they start asking you about your business and all these type of things, and they're like, well, geez, maybe you should be mentioning this to everyone. And we just take for granted every day what we do. And, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's 24 months, doesn't matter if it's 60 months. If we've got an issue or, manufacturing defect or whatever, we're just going to take care of it. So, but at the end of the day, we just want to let people know that, we're really going to be there. We're going to take care of it. And, and this person's, really been trying to get us to not advertise this program, because he says, if we were to do this would break us. And we don't have 99.9% of the people are just honest, hardworking people out there. Yeah. They're not looking to take advantage of anyone. They just want guarantees that this is going to work. The 15, 20 years, 25 years that it's advertised that it's supposed to work. And anything less than that, people tend to get a little upset. So, we're so confident in this guarantee that, we wouldn't even think twice about it. I'm sure probably that people are going to probably pick this guarantee up, maybe copy it or whatever. But really, at the end of the day, this is Bryant's hallmark. We've delivered on this for 60 years. We're just not walking away from anybody. We just make sure that it works at the end of the day.
And it goes to show, Bryant can provide the equipment that gives physical comfort and guarantees that provide mental comfort. Because, like you said, it's nice to know that when a customer, you have something installed, if something does go wrong, for those 2 years, that you have somebody that has your back. The company that installed it, they got your back. They got the hand on the shoulder, going, "We got this. We'll take care of it."
And the other part of it, what allows a company like Bryant to do this, one, we're employee owned, everybody's an owner, but the people that work at Bryant, they're the best of the best.
Oh yeah, I've met a number of them. Boy, I tell you, great people.
Every week we probably have anywhere from 3 to 5 people come in to apply for a position, and our interview process is somewhat rigorous to kind of get through. So really, at the end of the day, we do end up with the best of the best. And when we hire a person, we're just not hiring an employee. We're hiring another owner that we want to work with for the rest of our lives.
That 2-year test drive, it applies to the geothermal systems offered through Bryant. It applies to mini splits as well, and that will be our next topic when we return after this break. Don't go anywhere. Final segment after this. Final segment of the show. Appreciate you joining us today for Your Home Authority with Bryant Heating and Air on KFOR 1240 and on demand, KFOR1240.com. Wrapped up our conversation talking about geothermal. Let's bring it down to a smaller capacity. And we had a phone call, was it last week or the week before, about a gentleman who had a larger, older home and was trying to figure out ways to heat parts of it without having to buy a whole new unit, and didn't necessarily need a whole new unit, but wanted a way to keep a couple of rooms regulated. And mini splits came up, and they are a great way to keep rooms or garages or like outdoor living areas comfortable during the hot and cold months. Reggie, explain what mini splits are and what they do.
Well, these mini splits, they range anywhere from about 9,000 BTUs up to approximately 3 tons, somewhere in that vicinity. And actually, you can get into a bigger zone system that will actually get you into a 4-ton system with 8 different zones to it. But a mini split is just a small unit that sits outside. You can set it up for a sunroom. You can do it for that 3rd floor room that you have up above, and split it up into different zones if you had to. Just depends on what your application is. But that DC inverter compressor, if you have one head and one unit outside, it'll actually heat down to about minus 14 degrees outside. So you've always got heat with it, and it's always going to do its job. Very quiet operation. You can't hardly hear this unit. It sets in on the wall, sets up above, and it oscillates the heat back and forth across this room to increase your comfort level. We do have some on there that do have eyes on it, so it'll sense what the heat temperature is in one corner of the room. If it's a little bit cooler over there than what it is over in the other room, it'll actually bring these louvers over and force more heat back into that area, so everything comes back up to being the same temperature inside that room. It's pretty smart technology.
And it works to heat and cool.
Yes, it'll heat and cool the house.
What
area that you have it in.
What about multiple rooms? Can one unit work with multiple rooms, or you need one unit for every room that you want to use it?
You actually could, like I said a little bit ago, we have one unit that's a 4-ton unit. You can go up to 8 different zones in the house.
Wow.
It's a really nice unit. We've got units out there like that. Guy just loves it. It's very economical. And actually, he was cutting wood before. And he was going to leave his wood-burning fireplace and everything in there. He's never cut any wood yet today that I know of, that he's told me, because that system has taken care of all the needs that he needs inside that house.
Well, compare this to like a conventional system or even a heat pump. Because, for example, I have a 1,000 square foot single level home, no basement. Is a mini split, is that an option for a home like that to use besides a conventional?
You could use that. It just depends on the dollar amount that you can afford. I guess that's really what I'm boiling down to. But yes, you could use that in that house and be very economical to heat the house at the same time. You don't have any ductwork attached to it. You don't have any loss in your duct system like you do on your conventional system on your furnace. If you've got your ductwork up in the attic, there's a loss. Even if you insulate the ductwork up there still is a loss from your ductwork up there. On the mini split, everything comes through the refrigerant going into each one of those heads that's inside the house, and it puts the heat directly into the house, and it's not exposed to the outdoor atmosphere.
We were talking about LES rebates earlier in the show. Can LES rebates be applied toward mini splits?
Yes. Those mini splits, they could range anywhere from 20 on the SEER rating all the way up to 24 SEER. And that SEER is a seasonal energy efficiency rating. Boy, I tell you what, that's a win-win for homeowners as far as cost of operation. I've had a lot of people where they just did their sunroom. Yes, it raised their electric bill a little bit, but we're talking $1, maybe $2, $3 to $5, maybe $6 a month.
So not
depending
too much.
on how much you're going to utilize it.
When it comes to life expectancy, how long do these systems tend to last?
I tell you what, that DC inverter compressor, I don't know if I can tell you exactly how long they will last. I've got so many of them out there that they're very, very quiet. They just keep on running. And the load on those DC inverter compressors when they start You don't have a high amp draw when you're doing it, so it's not adding a lot of heat to it, even if it's in the cooling mode. They start out very slow, and you can't hardly hear them operate. I don't want to exaggerate it too much here, because you can't hardly hear this puppy run sitting outside. Most of the time,
That's
everybody's
nice.
so used to hearing this air conditioner sitting out there going rum, 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 and making all kinds of noise. And when you have that mini split out there, you
Nothing.
can't hardly hear that thing running.
And again, the mini splits with Bryant, they fall under the 2-year test drive.
Yes, we do have Bryant mini splits that do fall underneath that 2-year test drive.
So if that's something that might be interesting to you, and like we even said, if you do a lot of work in the garage and it's insulated, it's just cold in there during this time of year, and you'd love to work out there, these are a great way to keep it warm.
This is another application you can do without costing you an arm and a leg trying to heat it out there.
And plus, you get cooling in the summer.
There you
bet.
go.
Yep.
We'll work in the summer months too. Gentlemen, It's always a pleasure having you in. Appreciate it. Let's do it again next week, shall we?
Sounds great.
We'll be here.
All right, we'll see you next time on Your Home Authority with Bryant Heating and Air on KFOR.